Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships, where today we're going to be doing an upgrade and commander build video on the Tier 10 French destroyer, the Kléber. Not the more torpedo-focused line, but more of the gunboat-focused line that you have with the first French destroyer line here in the game of World of Warships. So, with that being said, let's just hop right into it. So I kind of gave it away already, but what kind of destroyer is the Kléber? Well, she is a gunboat destroyer, and that really comes down to her 839mm guns. She does have torpedoes of course, she gets 12 all said and done, but they're only an 8-kilometer range. And when you go for full conceal, you can get 7.8, unless you do the unique upgrade, which brings you down, I think, beneath somewhere in the 6 range. I can't remember because I think it's a negative 20% concealment, which then you go for. So you can do a full torpedo build with Kléber. You could do a little bit of a hybrid build, or you can go more for the traditional route, which is the gunboat build, which is what I have preferred so far on these French destroyers for several reasons. So we'll get into that. In terms of the armor layout, really nothing special happening. It's the typical 19mm hull and then 13mm on the superstructure plating. Now, one of the things, maybe I can put it on the side of the screen here, is that you get the French damage saturation gimmick, if that's what you really want to call it. So after you've done an X amount of damage to the different parts of the ship, whether it's the aft end plating, the side hull, or the bow, you won't be doing, like, if you're in a gunboat fight with a destroyer, right? Or let me do it like this way. So I had a friend who was playing against a French destroyer, and he dumped all the torpedoes. All of them went single file into the center portion of the ship, and he had already taxed that part of the ship down to 0 hit points. So this guy ate like 4 torpedoes, and it didn't kill him because of the French damage saturation gimmick. That's a bit of an extreme example, but basically you won't be getting full damage value. And again, I'll try to have it on the left side of the screen here just to make sure I'm clear, or if I'm saying something incorrectly, that can be corrected. So the Kléber is a bit of a bully. The French CDs are a bit of a bully because of that damage saturation gimmick, which makes them good for kind of going into brawling scenarios with her speed and torpedoes with excellent torpedo angles, or just playing more at range and farming with these 139mm guns. So let's go ahead and get into the modules. So as I said, I have 139mm guns. The ship plays different than Marceau. Marceau has 827, where here on Kléber you get 839mm guns, and there's other differences which I'm not going to go fully into this video. But what you get with these 139mm guns is the ability to easily citadel light cruisers, even heavy cruisers if you're close enough, depending on what heavy cruiser we're talking about. But you saw that in the video I have highlighted here at the end. If you want to go check it out, where we asserted our dominance in Kléber, and we citadeled Smolensk and Minotaur multiple times. So these guns are punchy, for sure. So you have a pretty slow 108-degree turn time. This is also with us taking main battery mod 2 and an enhanced skill on grease the gears on our commander to get that down to 15 seconds. Otherwise, it's quite brutal. HE shell damage 2000, AP shell damage 2700. In terms of hit points, with Superintendent or Survivability Expert, excuse me, on our commander, we're sitting at 25,400. Now there is a way to improve this further, 2 ways. One is through of course, the Charlie Kilo combat signal, which bumps us up to 26,700. And the other way is through a different commander, which has an enhanced survivability expert, the Philippe Auboyneau, something like that. And I'll highlight him when we go into the commander. And then torpedoes, very, very fast reload time compared to the Marceau. They have a 77-second reload time. So that's kind of why there's a bit of an allure to go for a full concealed build on Kléber ultimately via the unique upgrade available in the Research Bureau, which I'll highlight. But for now, 77 seconds, 8 kilometer range, 18,400 maximum damage, 75 knot speed with a 1.8 kilometer detectability range. So these torpedoes aren't so easy to dodge because of that 75 knot speed, compared to, you know, like something you get on Elbing, or I think Schultz in like Z44 is like 55 knot torpedoes if I recall correctly. And then we go to the gunfire control system. You have a 13.6 kilometer main battery firing range. I think I misspoke. Maybe it was during the highlight video I did where I thought you had to upgrade the gunfire control system. You don't. You just get 13.6. Of course, you can make this range longer between the commander or our 6 slot on the upgrade, so I'll get into that. And then 44 knots, so 96,842 horsepower. We can throw Sierra Mike on and go 46.2 knots, or we can also use our engine boost, a 20% engine boost. So you have 8%, 15%, 20%, and was there 25 and 30? I don't remember now. They're adding more and more layers to the engine boost. So I believe, if I recall correctly, we can get up over or close to 55 knots. I think something like that. So what makes it really fun then is when you're gunboating, this really helps you avoid salvos because people have a harder time aiming for 55 knot speed boats. In terms of the first upgrade, we have the main armaments mod 1. We're taking this to reduce the risk of our main battery and torpedo tubes becoming incapacitated by negative 20%. So your torp tubes, I mean, they're pretty vulnerable. They're just out in the open on the midsection of the ship. Right, and very valuable to have if you YOLO a target, especially Kléber is pretty good in ranked and also clan battles as well. So that's a lot of plays come down to Kléber doing a YOLO rush on, like, let's say a Salem or something like that. So you do want to build into your torpedo tubes. It also improves their survivability by plus 50% and reduces the repair time if either should become incapacitated by negative 20%. You don't mess with auxiliary armaments, you don't have secondaries, and your AA is actually pretty brutal on the Kléber compared to the Marceau. It's just a 3.8 range, and you can see, you know, a 52 rating for a tier 10 ship, so that's pretty abysmal. So she's very poor AA destroyer at the high tier. Second slot, what you see right now, if you don't have the coal, I would recommend engine room protection. Your risk of engine becoming incapacitated is negative 20%. Engine repair time, negative 20%. Risk of steering gears becoming incapacitated, negative 20%. Steering gears repair time, negative 20%. If you have the coal, I would recommend the engine boost mod 1. It gives you a plus 30% consumable action time. So then right now you see it's 180 seconds is our consumable action time. So the coupons just reset today, because I had burned this. So I'm going to click on it. You can see 17,000 coal without coupon, 12,750 coal with coupon. So we're going to throw that on Kléber. We're going to come back in. We're going to just sell that. Not going to demount it because that's 25 doubloons. Boop. Come over here. Now we're 234 second action time. So it's almost a 4-minute engine boost. So as you see right now, there's 3 of them. So basically, you could say 12 minutes, quote unquote, of engine boost, but then you also have to account for the cooldown. Let's see, third slot. So as I discussed, talking about that 15-second fully building into the grease the gears on the commander, and also here taking the main battery mod 2, improving our traverse speed by plus 15%. It's pretty needed. 15 seconds on destroyer 100 egg return time is pretty brutal. This is something you more see on cruisers, generally speaking. I mean, Minnow has a faster turret traverse time than you with its 152s. So this is what you're going to go for. Normally, I tend to go for aiming systems mod 1. I mean, if you are willing to give up several seconds, so I think it'd push you back up to like over... does it push you over 17 seconds? 17 or around 17. I can't remember off the top of my head. If you were to take this and take aiming systems mod 1, which I'll put it on the right side of the screen here, your maximum main battery shell dispersion is reduced by negative 7%. essentially meaning you have better horizontal dispersion and better vertical dispersion. You're getting tighter shell grouping by X amount of meters horizontally and vertically. So that's helpful, right? But it kind of becomes more pertinent because of your maneuverability and your speed, that you're often going to be shifting a lot as a gunboat. So there's a much higher value for the main battery mod 2, and Wargaming even recommends it themselves. So these are really the two options you're looking at here. You can test them both out, but my opinion, main battery mod 2. The fourth slot, I'm going to recommend propulsion mod 1. Time to reach full engine power when accelerating, -50%. So when you're doing the gunboat vibe build of Kléber, this fits in very well. So whether you're slowing down, you're speeding up, opening up on enemy cruisers or battleships, like let's say back at that 13 kilometer range, or maybe if you're pushing the max line of like 13.5, 13.6, becomes really valuable for juking. So I appreciate that a lot. In terms of your maneuverability, your rudder shift time is 4.8. So if you take steering gears mod 1, it will reduce your rudder shift time by -20%. So that would bring you down, what, closer to, was it 4 seconds? If I'm doing the math right in my head, yeah. Around 4 seconds. So that's helpful too, right? But I really like the propulsion mod 1 tied with that 20% engine boost. So a lot of value there in my opinion. The fifth slot, concealment system mod 1. If you're going to do, I think the build I'm going to highlight is probably a pretty traditional Kléber build, but I'll highlight a couple others as well. So with this, it gets you down to that concealment of 7.8 because we have concealment on our commander as well. So that's the standard concealment. So you're pretty, it's pretty brutal. A lot of other DDs at the higher tiers, you know, they can rock anywhere from what 5.4 to over 8. So you're on the low end of the spectrum in terms of your concealment, as in a bad way is what I'm trying to say there. So traditionally speaking, you want to take this. Now, if you want to do a lighthouse build and just give up the steering gears or concealment for steering gears mod 2, you can. That's going to inflate your concealment to like 8.6, 8.7. I'm just guessing off the top of my head, maybe it's 8.5. Math was never my strong suit, but something like that. And then you're going to have a -40% on your rudder shift time and a -80% on your steering gears repair time if it should become incapacitated. So you then get the best of both worlds between the propulsion and the steering gears mod 2. If you are going to go, I would take this if you're going to go for range over reload. That's where steering gears mod 2 comes more into play, in my opinion. Other than that, the sixth slot, right now you can see we have main battery mod 3. This reduces our main battery reload time by -12% and a main battery traverse speed by -13%. So it's a nerf to our main battery traverse speed. Takes a little bit longer to traverse. But then the main battery reload time is -12%. So right now, our reload time is 6.2 seconds. And that's without any adrenaline rush or, for example, fearless brawler, or using our reload booster, main battery reload booster, which is a -50%. So I like going for the DPM build with Kléber. I'm quite comfortable with the 13.6 as it is. Now there's two places if you want to go more for the range. One, you could do it here. You can do it the gunfire control system mod 2, which is probably, I'm going to tell you to take it here. Because you'll give up the nerf of the main battery traverse speed by not taking main battery mod 3 here, but taking it this, and then maybe you also consider dropping main battery mod 2 for aiming systems. If you're going to go for more for a ranged build, it makes sense to go for something a little bit more accurate, so to speak. But then you're kind of getting to this point where when you open up more range on Kléber, it's like, well, then maybe you kind of want to take something more like the George Hoffman, Schultz, Elbing, Ragnar, Hull, you know, all these other gunboat DDs as well. But of course, Kléber still has her place, as well as Marceau. So you can do that here, right? You can, and then I would go for reload on the commander and the range here on the 6th slot if you want to do more of a lighthouse build and switching out to these various things. Now, to also talk about her unique upgrade is her improved camouflage patterns. So the changes ship's tactical role by allowing for sudden and stealth torpedo attacks. So your ship's detectability range drops by -20%, and your main battery reload time goes up by plus 60%. So you give up guns, basically. I mean, you still have them. You'll still have your 50% engine or 50% main battery reload booster, right? But you are giving up your gun roll in favor of kind of full sending it into the torpedo roll, which has its place when we talk about clan battles, especially. People will play Kléber as gets to the cap early, contests the cap, kind of reverses onto the cap, boost off. Ragnar, of course, does as well, or Gdansk, or yellowing a cruiser, a Stalingrad, a Moskva, a Salem, something that's sitting bow in along some island, and you send your Kléber in there to yoink them. Then this tends to be, you time it between the radars, perhaps, right? This tends to be what you end up going for clans that decide to have their Kléber commander more played in that way. It's 19,200 research points if you do that. I'll put it on the screen here because I can't remember off the top of my head what it brings your concealment down to. So that's pretty spicy. So that makes it a lot more comfortable with your 8-kilometer torpedo range, right? So rather than having, right now, we have a 0.2 kilometer gap between our concealment and torpedoes, which usually means you're torpedoing something that's perhaps pushing into you or you're yellowing it, where now the tactical role has changed, where you have a 1.76 kilometer gap between your concealment and your torpedo range, which makes it a little more comfortable if you are torpedoing targets that, like a battleship or something that doesn't have radar, as an example. All right, so I think we talked enough about that. Let's get into armament. High explosive shells, 6.2 second reload time right now. 139mm guns. You have a larger caliber than most destroyers in the game, but there's also several others that's still larger than Kléber. You do a maximum 2,000 damage, 10% chance of causing fire on target, which we can bump with both India X-Ray and Victor Lima. So, oh, sorry, take that one off. So we go from 11%, because this one is for something that's 160mm or greater, but it does improve also your chances of causing flooding. So then, yeah, then that's actually nice to see there as well. It's 11%. Huh, it doesn't change. 10 and 11. So flooding and also fire, apparently. But this is chances of fire of being caused by a shell of a caliber of more than 160mm. So that's kind of interesting, because it's 139, but it's not ticking that up anymore. Okay, whatever. AP, you have 2,700 maximum damage. Definitely use AP when you get broadside cruisers and battleships or aircraft carriers. You can, and then also when you have DDs that have an armor threshold that's greater than your 23mm pin of your high explosive, like Ragnar. I remember if Elbing has it as well. It's hard to keep the DDs in track that have this armor plating in the midsection of the ship that's 25mm. So then you actually need to switch to armor piercing to get the pin damage when they're broadside to you, right? I think Hoffman is one of those DDs as well. So definitely don't sleep on the armor piercing. It's a lot of fun. Can get you more damage depending on the angle of the target. Torpedoes, which we've talked about, but again, 77-second reload time currently, max damage 8 kilometers, or maximum range 8 kilometer, maximum damage 18,400, speed 75 knots, detectability range 1.8. So these torpedoes are a bit difficult to dodge given their speed, and they hit pretty hard. Depth charges, you get 2 charges, and you get 18 bombs in a charge. So you get, if I do math right in my head, off the top of my head, 36 depth charges with a 40-second reload time and a maximum damage of 2,400. So that's nice. Your concealment gives you away if you go for a normal conceal build. So if a sub doesn't have If he has enough dive capacity, he can kind of slip away more quickly. But of course, when you're closing a distance in with your engine boost activated and your speed of over 50 knots, makes it more difficult for the submarine to react in time. Consumables, standard damage control party, 5-second action time, cooldown time, 40 seconds. Main battery reload booster, -50%. Its action time is 15 seconds. It has a cooldown time of 100 seconds, and you get 4 of them without taking Superintendent. 5 with Superintendent. Engine boost, which we've talked about already in highlighting the engine boost mod 1, plus 20%. Consumable action time 234 seconds, cooldown time 90 seconds, number of consumables 3. So for the heck of it, I guess I'll just do the math again. So you have 46.2 times 1.2, so it's a 55 knot, 55.44 knot speed. So that's really fun, and that's one of the reasons why Kléber tends to be a pretty good YOLO ship in the competitive meta, and also the gunboating meta of playing a bit more at range, if you will. 3 without Superintendent, 4 with Superintendent. In terms of combat signals, we are going to take Hotel Yankee, damage caused by ramming an enemy 50%. Additional, damage received when ramming an enemy, -20%. And apparently I can't talk this morning very well. Other than that, November Foxtrot, ship consumable preparation reload time, -5%. So now we have 38 instead of 40. We have, instead of 100, it's 95. And then instead of 90, it's 85.5. So very helpful to get your consumables off cooldown a bit faster. And then the Juliet Whiskey combat signal, which improves your chances of flooding. So I just take that because you're not really going for fire or flood. And we can bump our AA damage a little bit. It only takes us to 52 to 53. And you're just seeing the continuous damage goes up from 210 to 221, which isn't amazing. And then damage from shell explosions, which we don't have. Yeah, and I think we're going to be talking about taking it out in the next AA rework or whatever. So, but technically, if you want to save more money, you could just go for apparently a build like this. Since this isn't increasing the fire chance at all, even though for some reason it was, or shows it here at least, when you switch between the two, but not increasing it further. Alright, Commander Rise. Let me first talk about the, how would we phrase him? Legendary Commander, if you will. Philippe Auboyneau. Something like that. I'm sorry to my French audience. I probably butchered it, but I'm pretty tired right now. So you have several talents with him. The first is Rampant. So upon earning the Devastating Strike achievement, your main battery reload time is reduced by -5%. Your torpedo tube reload time reduced by -5%. And you also get aircraft preparation time, but that's for CVs, right? Or probably if there's a French hybrid comes into play. I don't think we have that yet. So you get a little bit of buff on your main armament and your torpedo armament. You also have Elemental Fury. Activates upon capturing a key area or assisting in capturing one. That's a +1% on chances of causing fire on a target and +10% chances of causing flooding. Then you have Surge Forward, which this commander ends up being really good on the ships like Honoré, or even the super ship French cruiser. I'm spacing it in my head right now. And this is automatically activates after every 2 million HP of potential damage, and it's a +8%. So I think there's a video with John the Ruthless playing the the super ship French cruiser Condé, and there was this Annapolis that was just focused on firing AP at him constantly, and a lot of it was just reflecting. And it was really funny because I think he ended up getting 8 million potential damage. So, okay, so then think of this talent +8, and then he was ultimately getting +32%. So 8, 16, 24, 32. That's rare. Very few people ever get to that level. But it's common that you can see 2 million to 4 million potential damage. 4 million in cruisers. You probably will see 2 million if you're the gunboating role here on Kléber. So that's common. I've gotten that in gunboat destroyers here in the game. The enhanced skill he has is the survivability expert. It's a plus 500 for each ship tier. Otherwise, it's normally plus 450. So you go 50 times 10. So essentially, you're getting an additional 500 hit points all said and done. I'm going to check my math because I'm doubting myself. Yeah, 500 additional hit points on your total hit point pool on Kléber. But as you see, I have a seasoned commander, Jean-Jacques Honoré, something like that. And if I remember correctly, he's available in the armory. Let's go look now. We can do that together. There's Charles. He might be the one I have equipped. He might be available in a collection. It's hard for me to keep track of them all the time. But anyhow, he has the same skills that Jean-Jacques has, the grease the gears and adrenaline rush. Now, part of the reason why I quite like it here is because of the slower turret traverse. So we have a plus 20% rather than a plus 15%. And we have a negative 0.25% rather than a negative 0.20%. So it's a little bit more of a buff towards her, how would you say this? Her, what type of skill do you reference this as? Attack skill? Versus more of a defensive enhanced skill that the unique commander, legendary commander has, where here you see it's plus 350. Wait, is it that big of a difference? Did I get that wrong? Plus 500. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. That's on cruisers. That's why. Destroyers, it's plus 400. I'm like, no. Should only be a 50 hit point gap between the two. My apologies. So it's still the same, except the number in terms of the enhanced skills. So apologies for that. Yeah, it's a bit of a hot mess this morning on my part. But anyhow, let's get closer to wrapping this video up. So this is the build I'm ultimately going to go for. I'm just going to highlight it here in a quick take, give you the shortened version, and then I'll highlight a couple other options you can do as well. I mean, it's there's 3 different ways, or 4 different ways maybe you can go with Kléber. I'm going for a little bit more of a traditional that focuses a bit more on her reload speed versus going for something like range, versus going for something like trying to find out maybe where that pesky DD that's close to you with RPF, or going for perhaps more of that torpedo build on Kléber if you take the unique upgrade in the 5th slot. So let's just talk through what I have on the screen. So I usually reference this line as the bread and butter build, if you will. So preventive maintenance, negative 30% on risk of modules becoming incapacitated, and you get a secondary buff and AA buff, which honestly doesn't really matter on Kléber. You're just going for reducing the risk of your main turrets, your torpedo tubes, steering gears, and engine becoming incapacitated. You definitely want last stand. You will have your steering gears, you will have your engine knocked out. So taking this skill, so now we're at a 3-point commander, your ship remains partially able to sustain speed and maneuverability with the engine and steering gears incapacitated. Regardless of whatever build, if I was going for a hybrid or more torpedo focus, I'm still going to take last stand. Then 6-point commander, survivability expert. So total right now 26,700. So if you took the other commander who has enhanced survivability expert, what you're going to see is 27,200 hit points versus the 26,700 we have here. So it's not a huge difference, but it can be a game changer, all said and done. And then 10-point commander, I do the concealment expert because I still like to be able to at least torp targets that are pushing into me, having that 0.2 kilometer gap. And also, you know, when we're dealing with other light cruisers in the game, like the Minnow, like the Smolensk, just having a little bit more of a heads up helps going for that full concealed build versus if we just completely did not go for a concealed build and just went into full gun range. Again, I'm going to probably push you more to something like Ragnar, Hull, Elbing, Schultz, Hoffman, maybe even Marceau, perhaps a little bit more than Kléber, just as an example. Just because of, I don't know, there's kind of a few different things going on here with Kléber. And you're getting more DDs that have larger gun caliber than Kléber. I mean, Kléber is still towards the top end of the tier 10 spectrum, but I've just preferred having more of the concealed build on Kléber so far when I've played it between randoms and other game modes. Then for a 13-point build, take the Adrenaline Rush. So as you lose hit points, your reload time is going to drop. So you're going to go from 6.1, 6.2 to 6.1 to 6 to 5.9 to 5.8. Your torpedoes are going to start reloading, you know, 76, 75, 74, 70, perhaps, depending on how many hit points you've lost. So that's a really good skill to take. 14-point build, I've gone for Grease the Gears, just so I can get the artillery down to a 15-second, 180-degree turn time. Now, of course, depending on the build you're going for, this might not be pertinent for you if you're going for more like a torpedo or perhaps a hybrid build. But for the close-range gunboat, the long-range gunboat, a Grease the Gears is definitely needed. There's nothing more frustrating getting in a gunfight with another destroyer at close range, let's say 6 kilometers, and you're trying to get your rear turrets turning and they're taking 18 seconds rather than 15 seconds as you engage them. Like the example of the gearing in the video that we killed and started the game the other day. And after that, I said I was going to go for Fearless Brawler and Superintendent. So you don't have smoke on Kléber, right? So when you're firing, unless you're using a CV smoke, a cruiser smoke, a battleship smoke, and a destroyer smoke, it's just a matter of time. Probably even before submarines get smoke screens, right? Like, who knows? You're always going to be having this skill activated for the most part, right? Unless you're firing behind islands as well. But basically, it's just that main battery reload time drops by negative 10%. So we shave off 0.62 seconds, right? So that drops us down to 5.6 second reload time, roughly. So that's pretty good, all said and done, and very helpful to have. In the video yesterday, I was a little bit uncertain if I really would want to ultimately take Superintendent, because I could throw some Elite Commander XP in here and get up to a 17-point build to take Superintendent. And it would have been nice for that Minotaur, as an example. I didn't have any more main battery load boosters. I could have killed him a bit sooner, especially when he went full broadside to me, to drop that reload time down even faster, making it a bit zesty. So I would appreciate it. It also gives us a 4th engine boost, but I would argue, usually what I say about Superintendent in the game is if you are a player who normally dies by the halfway point in the game, then Superintendent probably doesn't really have much value for you. If you are playing torpedo build Kléber, then I wouldn't do Superintendent because, you know, this focuses on the engine boost and the guns. So there's not much of a need for it here. Otherwise, the other builds I've highlighted, as you can see, Wargaming does recommend going this route as an example, where you can have your main battery reload time drop down from 6.2 to 5.9. And then you get a bit more continuous AA damage. So you can see AA damage goes up to 231 now from the 210. And then main battery and AA expert, plus 20% main battery firing range. And then there's damage from AA shell explosions, plus 15%. But we don't have that on here, so you're just going for range. So then that takes you up to the 16.3 that you see here. Now, as I mentioned, probably what I'd do if you really want to go for the range build is I'd actually come into the upgrades and I would drop the main battery mod 3 and take the gunfire control system 2, just to get rid of the negative 13% main battery traverse speed, and then come back in here, and I would probably do this then. So because you're going to be a gunboat or a lighthouse build Kléber, if you will, then you're going to be detected a lot. So just go ahead and get the 10% reload here and a negative 5%. So you're getting, like you could say, a negative 15% reload going for these two skills. Now the same thing could be said here, where even for the example I give with Superintendent, not taking Superintendent, I could go main battery and AA Specialist and drop my reload time down. Now you see it's 5.9, but then it's going to drop down to 5.3, excuse me, roughly. And then you use your main battery reload booster, 5.3 suddenly becomes like 2.65 as an example. For that 15 seconds that your main battery reload booster is activated for. So that's just an example there as well. But you can do the full range build on the commander if you'd rather, and then you want to keep the main battery mod 3 on the 6th slot. If you're going to go for, you don't like the fact that your concealment is so poor, 7.8, you can go for RPF to tell you where the nearest destroyer to you is. Then maybe you're doing something like this or this. These are just examples. I know everyone has preferences. But once you get to a better level in the game of understanding how things are happening, then actually you can pretty much guess where the closest destroyer is to you, especially in randoms. Now, if you're playing clan battles, a little bit more difficult, right? But you know the DD should be playing around the caps as well. And speaking of clan battles, there can also be a value for Dazzle. Ship speed plus 8%, and then dispersion of shells fired by enemies attacking your ship plus 20%. This stays active for 15 seconds after your ship has been spotted. So if you go for the full conceal build route, and you're trying to take caps early, this, that, and the other, then Dazzle is pretty good, and it makes it harder for enemies to land shots on you as you speed boost because you got lit by a Moskva radar or whatever, as examples. So Dazzle has a little bit of a value in the meta of clan battles, especially, but you kind of, more Gdansk, more Ragnar, some other DDs do the role as well, but you can also do it in Kléber. And then maybe you end up going for, I don't know, something like this. The full torp build, you're looking something in this manner. And it still leaves you 2 points. And you could take extra heavy AP ammunition. AP lands a bit harder, or you increase your fire chance by plus 1% if you're trying to set ships on fire when you're not yellowing them, torpedoing. You know, or things like this. You know, we can also reduce our engine boost consumable cooldown time or our main battery reload booster. So to kind of summarize this, because this video has gone longer than what I've anticipated, the build I'm going for is this. Otherwise, the pretty traditional build would be drop main battery mod 3. You can go for gunfire control system, and then do this here if you want to get your main battery range increased to farm further away. 13.6 is fine with me because I'm utilizing the engine boost. I'm utilizing propulsion to juke salvos, if you will. Yeah, so there's a different blend of things you can do here, but ultimately we'll be going for that. So apologies for being a bit wordy today. Just didn't sleep very well last night, so brain's still a little bit scattered as I still have my coffee. So nevertheless, let me know what you like running on your Kléber in the comments below. If you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you are subscribed, thanks so much. I would appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. And until next time, take care.